All right. Abatulaba abatuwuliriza nsanyuse nnyo okubalaba akawungezi ka leero amannya n'eddoboozi Ssaalongo Kiggundu nga bulijjo ku pulogulaamu agafa mu bwengula. Olwaleero nina mukisa ate n'essanyu lingi okuba nti nkyazizza omukulembeze w'ekibiina kyaffe ekya Uganda North America Association, mukyala Henrietta Wamala Sennabulya. nga bwe mumanyi ensiike gye tuzze twogerako ffenna tuzze tunoonya ba candidates naye ate ye candidate ate nga incumbent tufunye akakisa ne tumukwasa akawungezi ka leero tunyumyemu naye kimu bibiri atubuulire campaign egenda etya, obukulembeze bwabaddeko bwakyakolako bugenda butya n'ebirala bifaanana bwe bityo. And because the Uganda North American Association is for all Ugandans, not Uganda speakers like me. Ladies and gentlemen, our viewers, Ssaalongo Kiggundu is my name. Welcome here. And my guest tonight is the current president of the Uganda North America Association. She's also a candidate in the current race as we go into Cincinnati, Ohio. So I am thrilled and happy that she has carved out some time from a busy schedule that evidently she has as preparations go on going into Ohio. I'm happy to have her here tonight. Nyabo, thanks Okuraba, and I know you chose 2 languages to speak. You might be speaking another language. Feel free to use it. Feel free to use any language that you feel comfortable with. Thank you very much. Welcome to my studio.
Thank you so much, Ssaalongo. Abatuwuliriza, let me start with Luganda. Bannange, sanyuse nnyo okuba nti nno nange nzeeko mu bwengula. We've been watching Ssaalongo Kiggundu ng'atukubira akajjambo. Bannange wano mu bwengula bwe tuti bwe tuli nga aweereza n'obulango bwa UNAA. Twagala okumwebaza byonna byatukoledde mu community nga making sure nti nno atuwa visibility ng'ekibiina naye ate ne twebaza nnyo okuba nti nno asobola okunkyaza wano n'okuba nti nsobola okujja ne tuwaya ne mubuulirako ebigenda mu maaso nga twetegekera convention ey'e Cincinnati ate era ne mubuulirako ne ebyange bwe bitambudde nga ndi wano nga ndi mukulembeze w'ekibiina ekya UNAA. So I am really, really honored to be here with you, Ssaalongo. Thank you for having me. Amanya again, nze Henrietta Nairuba Wamala, nga ndi mukyala mufumbo mbeera wano mu Illinois, omwami owange ye mwami Sennabulya. Bw'olaba awo nga bagamba nti Henrietta Wamala Sennabulya, Sennabulya ye mwami. Naye nga agange taata ge yampa nze Henrietta Nairuba Wamala. Sanyuse nnyo okuba nti nno mbasanzeeko wano mu bwengula.
Sanyuse okulaba nnyabo. Kaakati nnyabo, gwe incumbent era erinnya ligamba nti President and CEO. Abantu tuyinza okukola assumption nti abantu bakitegeera butegeeza ekyo kitegeeza naye tulina aba members abapya mu community. What does it mean to be a president of the Uganda North American Association? What do you do? What does that mean?
Being the president of this association gives me the mandate to actually be the person that can be the spokesperson of the association in case I'm engaging the entity into any business, in case I'm engaging the entity into any media, in case I'm engaging the entity into any government relations, for example, with the United States government. Even when I'm talking to the Ugandan government where we came from, it gives me the right to be able to do that. Also being president, it means that I sit and take over the executive, meaning that I am the head of the executive, but that doesn't mean that I rule over them. They work with me to make sure that we are actually executing our mandate as given to us by the Constitution. UNAA, as you know, is made up of various sections. We have 3 leadership organs and we also have committees. We have the executive, which is made up of the president, the vice president, executive secretary, treasurer, and the directors of communication, director of development, and director of communication, and also the last one is the director of finance. Sorry. And then we have the council, the UNAA Council, which has the representatives of various regions. For example, here in Illinois, we have the representation of the Great Lakes region. So we have the current councillor being Muchala Josephine Mugaga Matovu. Then we have the Board of Trustees, which is headed by the chairman, Mr. Jonah Agaba. So those are your three sections of leadership in UNAA. And these leadership organs actually kind of check each other out. For example, the BOT actually oversees all the entities in UNAA, that is the executive and the council. And then, of course, the council does the legislative part of business in UNAA, whereas we execute as the people in the executive. More or less, we are the managers, the daily run-to-run business of UNAA. Right now, Mugenda convention, you're going to see the COO, that is the Chief Operating Officer of the convention, the Executive Secretary, Mujamulabanga yakole emirimu egyo. And it's not by accident that he does it. The Constitution actually mandates him to be able to do it. So more or less, that is a short version of what the leadership organs do in UNAA.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that brief summary. And it gets a little elaborate, I know, but that helps anybody who is coming into this for the first time to get a snapshot of what this organization is all about. But like you said, the three different organs check each other. Yes. I pick particular interest in that because being election season now, every cycle these things come up where you hear sentiments or allegations that there's maybe lack of understanding of what each role is, each organization, each body is supposed to do. Like some think that the executive just makes decisions without consultation. How does that work? Are you supposed to consult and seek approval? Or please elaborate that check. How does that work? How do these organizations check each other?
We have a governing document, Mwami Chigundu, and that is our constitution. And the constitution actually mandates us to do what we do in our offices. For example, I as president, I've got my description of the job that I'm supposed to carry out. So does the executive secretary, so does the vice president, so does the finance, the treasurer in finance. So we do not just wake up and say, tugenda kukola kintu nga tetubuuzizza. For example, the convention. We have to have a convention budget. And once we have that convention budget ready, we send it to the council for approval. And it is the council's job to make sure that they find time to invite, per the constitution, to invite the president to come and defend that budget in the council and actually approve it.
Oh, they have to find the time.
They have to make sure that they schedule that time and invite the president to make sure that the president comes and presents the budget per the constitution, and they have to either disapprove or approve that budget. Yes.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Now, tell us this current coming convention. Has the council done what you just described? Has that happened?
I'm going to say no, they have not. I sent a budget to them in April. They insisted they wanted a budget. We were still working on the mechanics of refunds because, as you remember, we had COVID in 2020. So UNAA does not have a refund policy. But because this was something that we all didn't expect, COVID happened around the world. We decided as leaders that we would actually refund people their money that didn't make it to the convention because we had an online convention. We didn't have a physical convention in 2020. So being that there was no refund process in UNAA, we had to come up with a process from scratch and refund those that were asking for their monies in North America and also those in Uganda. North America was a breeze because all you had to do is either reverse the transactions which were made on the cards. When it came to Uganda, we had to come up with processes. If you have had what goes on with what happens in Uganda and money, what is always the complaint? Abantu babbibwa ssente. So we had to make sure that we had a clear process whereby if I refunded someone money in Uganda, someone else who is coming in after me would be able to tell who that person was that was refunded, how much was refunded, and what means was that money delivered to the person that was refunded. So we had to work with Postbank to come up with that process. Now, was it something that took us overnight? No. We had a lot of back and forth conversations with Postbank, and this took us months to finally get a process that would work for UNAA financials. Today, as I speak, the treasurer has put that in place, whereby we have now a clear process whereby if you have any expenses, anything that happens in our accounts, those things are fed straight into our accounting system, which is QuickBooks, so that you take out all that bulombolombo bwe muwulira ky'onabba ssente onaakola ki. So being that we had that delaying part, the council kept demanding for a budget, and we told them the budget will be here in due time. And in April, when it was ready, I sent it to them and asked them if they had any questions to contact me, and I was ready to come and defend it and have a talk and either approve or disapprove it. Today is August 22nd, and that budget was never approved, Mwami Chigundu. Now, people were paying their money for the convention. We as leaders were continuing UNAA work. And we were not going to be held hostage by a council that refused to do their job, because they kept saying we don't need now the president to come and defend the budget. We want the treasurer to do this. Awo muba mubuuka step constitution gye bagamba okukola. The constitution is clear. The president should go and defend the budget to the council. But maybe because they had their political games they were playing, ekyo ne bakibuuka. Nze n'ekimma amazzi nga president. But what I told them in the last meeting I had with them, I told them that as president of this association, I'm going to continue doing the job that members put me in office to do. I'm not going to stop doing my work as the CEO just because one entity is refusing to do their job. And that was the council leadership. So I went ahead and continued with getting the convention stuff done. We started working on vendors. I even asked the secretary to send out requests for proposals to make sure that we start getting the conventioneers, send out proposals that are vendors, and we start talking to them. We made sure that we talked to the hotel, had a contract done. By the way, hotel contract now, we gave it to them in February. That is way before even I sent the budget. And they still did not approve it. But they did not tell us to stop telling people to what? To pay for the convention. They did not tell us to stop telling people not to get their rooms done in the hotel. So this kind of politics that people play in UNAA has to stop. If the members put you in office to do a job, go do the job by the people that you promised to do the job for. So as convention CEO, as UNAA CEO, I asked the convention CEO, who is Lambert, Etibot, the secretary, to go ahead and make sure that he gets proposals from all these vendors, and the vendors started sending their proposals in. For those that we feel can offer us services, we are engaging them, and they are going to give the best services that you guys have paid for the convention. I went ahead and signed the hotel contract on behalf of UNAA members. You have seen the hotel. It's been sold out. And funny enough, even the people who didn't approve it, the council members, have actually booked that hotel. So isn't that double standards right here? You're refusing to do your job, but you're again using the services you're refusing to approve. And yet you're telling people, oh, we are not doing ABCD. So those are the double standards that we really are trying to fight in UNAA. Come and do the job you were put in office to do. And to make matters worse, like for example, I got an email from Council Secretary Michael Mukasa 2 days ago asking me to give him $3,000 for soccer as an addition to the convention activities. But he has failed to approve a budget. And he's asking me to give him $3,000 for an item that was not even in the budget.
Is there a specific reason the council gives as to why they have not done, as you say, the Constitution expects them to do?
They said they wanted the treasurer to come and tell them how much money is in the UNAA coffers. He did that during the leadership meeting. Okay. He came and gave a full update of where UNAA stands and gave them the dollar amounts.
Okay. Okay.
As I speak, the UNAA financials have been uploaded on the websites.
That's what I was going to say.
Because we sent them financials, and they never even discussed these financials. Before, they were like, we are not going to approve this until you give us financials. The day I sent them the budget, I sent them a set of all the pending financials because we had closed out all the refund processes. But still, they refused to approve the budget. So whether they wanted to hold us hostage, I'm sorry, but they failed to do that, because you as UNAA members are expecting a service from us as your leaders. And we are not going to fail to give you that service because some other people are not doing their job. Okay. So as I speak, the convention is still going on. You guys have seen the hotel has been sold out. In fact, we are looking for overflow hotels for you around so that you can use. I know there's a lot of propaganda out there. Henrietta, to the rooms. That is propaganda. Cincinnati is going to be a very busy weekend during the Labor Day weekend. We have a John Legend concert that weekend. We have a Reds game. So the city is going to be a full-blown city that weekend. It's going to be a very busy weekend. Okay. But we are looking forward to having you all in Cincinnati.
All right, thank you. Before I get off that topic of how these organs work with each other, particularly from your side, they can always come back with some other responses. But I wanted to know from you, also for the benefit of our viewers, how is convention selection done? Convention site. Please take us through that process. How does that work?
Yes, the convention selection is actually done when we send out a request for proposals. A few weeks ago, I think you saw an email from the secretary asking for people to send in their proposals for the host city of 2022.
Right.
So whatever host cities have sent us their proposals, they are the ones that are going to be selected. Okay. That's how the convention selection is done. And then, as long as we get an application from a city, we look through it. We look at if you read the proposal that was sent out by Mr. Lambert at boat, it tells you what is required. For example, we have a boat cruise every convention, and we would love to make sure that we have our conventions attended in cities where there are water bodies. If you don't have a water body, that means we are going to strike off a major event of the convention program. So we make sure that we have at least water bodies in the cities that we go to. Another thing that we always look at is, for example, what are the sites, what are the beautiful things that we find in that city? So there are a lot of things that are in that request for proposal. If you read that email, it outlines each and everything that is required before you apply. You should have a hotel that will hold a certain number of people. If we get in a hotel, if we get into a city and, for example, you don't have hotels that can hold, let's say, a meeting space of more than 600 people or more than 800 people, chances are that that city will not be selected. Because as you have seen, Mwami Chibgundu, UNAA these days is a full-packed event. In Chicago, you remember what happened to us. Yeah. I think we had over 2,000 people there. But thank God the Hyatt had, I think, the biggest ballroom in Chicago. And the same thing is happening this time. In Cincinnati, we have the biggest ballroom in the city for our weekend. And even if with social distancing, they can be able to actually hold us as UNAA in that ballroom.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So in other words, it's an executive decision, you take a vote, that sort of a thing, right? And is that
Definitely.
It's not a one person I pick.
Oh, no. We present it to the executive, we debate it out, and usually majority wins. We take a vote. And always the majority wins.
Okay. All right. So because I ask because it's not something, it's something that I hear out there, people, the ordinary ones trying to understand how that works. Yes. Now, let me take you a step back a little. When you became president in 2019.
Yes, sir.
Prior to that, UNAA had gone through some rough and tumble. There was a lot of issues, and that culminated into the 2019 election. The result was that you became president. We got a Madam Vice President, a Madam Speaker. That was historical in any way. I think you are the second female U.S. president, UNAA president.
UNAA president.
You never know what will happen. Let's stay with UNAA for now.
Well, yes, I'm the second female UNAA president. That's true. The first UNAA president was actually the first UNAA female president was actually Madame Rosette Serwanga in Massachusetts, Boston.
Okay. So how do you think this has gone the last 2 years? With that in mind, how have you ladies handled this organization matters?
Yes. From what you have been seeing, I know there's a lot that has been said out there. And as an incumbent, I've sat back and have been listening to so many of the interviews, the propaganda, the misinformation, and well, you hear everything and tell yourself, my time will come where I'll be able to tell my story.
I hope this is the time. I'll be glad to hear.
Oh, yes. I said, let me talk to Agafa Mubwengula and tell them what my story is, because we have had everything. We had all the misinformation. We have had the lies. We have had some truths to it. We have had everyone come and say anything they want. And yes, as an incumbent, it is good to sometimes sit back and listen and hear, and you have a chance to also respond and rebuttal. And today is, I think, that day whereby I'm saying, you know what? I think abana mumaze okuzanya nange ow'amaanyi sijja kukeera kansooke mbaleke mukyekole naye bwe nvaayo nja kujja nkimalirize.
Okay. All right.
So yes, we took over UNAA in 2019, and believe you me, it was not it wasn't all golden as people would have wanted us to be. We found an organization that the previous treasurers had never filed any taxes of. We had to actually dig into taxes all the way from 2015 and had to file back taxes of the entity from then to current. We found an organization that had actually lost its status, and we had to make sure that, yes, as a nonprofit, and we had to make sure that we wrote to the IRS to make sure that we were reinstating the status. So these are things that most of you, I think, did not even know that we are going on.
No, we did not.
But as leaders, we were not going to be running to the news, the media.
We want the news.
We were not going to be there running to the news and media to tell them, oh, Lord, this is what we have found, because it doesn't even help the entity to be bad-mouthing it out there. But we also wanted to make sure that we are cleaning it up, because once you inherit whatever you have found, it now becomes yours. You have to clean it up. I want to commend our treasurer, who actually was on the phones trying to make sure that they found information that we needed to clean some of these things up. For example, I'll give you an idea. When we took over, we found that UNAA had accounts in Bank of America, and those accounts had been frozen. by litigation by the Dr. Kauma team and the former, I think, treasurer, Mr. Nantamo. And we wanted to have those accounts to get unfrozen. It wasn't an easy process. We had to actually go through the lawyer. We had to ask Bank of America to make sure that they sent us some details of what those accounts had. We didn't have any idea how to get information on those accounts. But in the end, we were able to work and make sure that those accounts were unfrozen through the lawyer's intervention. And finally, we were able to have those funds transferred into the main UNAA account, which is the Wells Fargo account. But that is information that maybe most people didn't even know, because some of these litigations happened like for years between the people that were fighting. When that happened, we were like, okay, now we can at least be able to ask for statements from Bank of America. They had to send us paper statements because they had closed our accounts. So in order to have any taxes done, you had to dig through bunches of paperwork to actually find items you were looking for. But all that was done, and today as I speak, those taxes have been filed. And thank you so much, Mr. Nyenje, for making sure that that was done. When we took over, of course, you used to see the fights that used to happen.
That's why I'm curious. I'm like, whatever she can tell me.
Yuna, buli omu ayagala okumanya Yuna eri mu mawulire, ne bavuma Yuna ekola bweti, and so on. So there was some kind of, cleaning up that had to happen. And we tried to do that. I was able to actually go on media and have a talk with them, especially the Ugandan media, because if you really look at what happens to UNAA, the Ugandan media are the ones who actually make sure that they are writing about UNAA because of the information that is sent to them. So I remember the first time I went to Uganda, I sat with the media. I called them all and told them why I was in Uganda. And I sat with them because you could tell that some of them were actually interviewing me looking for that sound bite. And I told them, yeah, I know you're looking for the negativity, but I'm sorry, you're not going to get it from me. We are here to make sure that we are here to tell you that this is a new UNAA. You're not going to find us in the media fighting and shouting and crying foul all the time. We are here to actually clean up whatever we have found that is wrong and build on to what we have found that is right. And I think they saw me as a boring, media person because I didn't give them that sound bite. Right. But that was the reality. And if you really look at what has happened in the past 2 years, we tried to keep it that way. With just a few people, for example, in the leadership that have not gotten their way and have decided to run to the media to write stories about UNAA. Case in point, one of our council members, Mugeni, he's done a good job trying to badmouth UNAA out there. And we'll get to that. But what we tried is to try to make sure that we cleaned up UNAA's image, that we rebuilt relationships that had been fractured, that we tried to show people that they would again trust the organization, because there was a lot of mistrust. Yeah. There was a lot of mistrust when we took over, and we had to start rebuilding that trust right from the get-go when we took over. The other thing that we did was to make sure that we were in the communities. If you remember, Mwami Chigundu, right off when we took over in October, we had independences. Yeah. And we made sure that most of our council members were involved in the various states when we are having Independence Days celebrated by the different communities. So the whole narration of UNAA tegenda mu bantu, UNAA teri mu gundi mu communities, we kind of squashed that up and we started working with the communities, reached out to community leaders, which also actually helped us that when COVID came, because of that relationship that we had built with community leaders, it helped us to reach out easily to people who needed our help. And that's how we were able to actually respond quickly to help communities during COVID. So I think that is something that my administration can really celebrate about. I know that I'm coming as an incumbent and people are running against me. Of course, I have my vice president is running against me, wants the seat. But you never hear them talk about the good that we have done for the association. it is the bad, UNAA is so bad, UNAA this and that, but they are part of this entity. So if I have these good things that I'm telling you UNAA has done, you now wonder, are these things that we've been pushing as the rest of the entity and they didn't want to be part of? Because we feel this is the UNAA that should be with you as community members, a UNAA that cares for you in the diaspora. And I think that is something that we have built in this administration.
All right. Now, still with leadership and how you guys, leaders work with each other. I'm curious. It sounds like you inherited a situation, right? And you may not be telling me everything, but it sounds like you inherited whatever you inherited.
Yes.
Seems to me that UNAA struggles with continuity of leadership from one leader to another. Have you been supported by the previous leader? You took over somebody. How have you gotten the support that you'd expect? And while you're answering that, please also, because you mentioned that your vice is running against you. When she visited my studio here with her team the other day, it was stated that in whatever ideas she put on the table were not listened to. How do you, anything you can tell us about that?
Okay. I wonder what ideas that our vice put to the table that were never listened to, that would really impact the communities, because the vice president is in charge of the communities, right? That is what the Constitution says. For example, during the COVID crisis, we were contacted by so many leaders that people were suffering. And I would have expected her to come out and say, let's help the communities. Let's make sure that we get the community funds out. Let's make sure that we pass them out there. But she was not there. It took us to say, let us get these funds out and help the communities. And then she came and said, well, I'm supposed to be doing that. But she wasn't acting. And I had to reach out to the embassy to make sure that that money went to the communities. The vice president had the task of helping the communities again with the Community Development Fund. Unfortunately, that money was in the embassy for over a year. She failed at doing that. And yet she told us that is part of her office and none of us should actually be doing any of that because of the previous community development funds that helped people in COVID. So we left her to do her job and she failed to do it. The vice president has never brought anything to the table that has been rejected. One thing that we have seen that she's been very vocal of, and she tells everyone, is that I did not support for the convention to go to Cincinnati. I wanted it to go to San Francisco, and they voted against it. But the reality is, in any leadership that actually functions, you have to take a vote on any of the issues that are brought to you in UNAA. And the majority will always win. And it's not like they are voting because they don't want your idea. But most of the people, when they voted, they actually debated issues. For example, we looked at the budgets. They had a scenario of 2 hotels, one which was the Hilton in Cincinnati, and one which was the Hyatt the Hilton in San Francisco and the Hyatt in Cincinnati. And we looked at 2 budgets. We said, okay, if we were to go to Hilton in San Francisco, this is how much it would cost. This is how much it would cost in EV costs, in union fees, in everything. The budget in San Francisco was almost twice the budget in Cincinnati. And any leader that has been in UNAA, or even anyone who has not been in UNAA, Mr. Chigundo, if I am asking you to look at 2 budgets that will work for your household, and one is twice as expensive as the other, I'm going to assume that you're going to look at the least expensive one as the one you'll go with, because that is what maybe you can even afford. We couldn't even afford the one that was being put in San Francisco then. And we told, some of the things that came up in the discussions was, we just came out of COVID. Chances are we may not get as many people register at the prices we have had in the past. So that means we have to scale down on the prices that we have been registering for the convention. Like you've seen, usually by now we would be paying $300 for convention fees. But if you look, you have been marketing this convention, the highest price you have marketed it is $240. Why? Because we just came out of COVID and we are trying to scale it down and not make it too expensive for everyone. So at that price, it would never work in San Francisco. Now, the VP wasn't happy with that. Majority of the people on the board voted differently. And she said we were protesting against her idea. Maybe that is the idea that I can say I know for sure she has brought on board. But I have never heard her say she brought anything and it was either refused to be acted upon. But one thing that I also would maybe advise her is to get more well-versed with how things work in the entity, and mainly with her job. Because I have had community members that are not happy. And yes, they see now that people are getting to be visible to them because of campaigns, but they have not seen any of these people in their communities when they needed them most. And that is her job. So, like people say, when we want to do things done right, let's do them right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. But on another issue, you also asked what we inherited, whether I have had support from the previous administration on some of these things we inherited. When we were handing over, it wasn't an easy process. And I do understand when someone is handing over, sometimes they are busy. It took us some time to get information from the previous administration. Okay. After a couple of months, we actually stopped getting any information from them, but we were able to work with someone they worked with as Director of Finance, Mr. Chimbuga, and he was very helpful at giving us information we needed to especially get the taxes done. Okay. But other than that, I did not get very much support, as you say, from them at the end of their tenure. I did not.
Yeah, that's I pick interest in that particular subject because I was talking to a friend of mine, and I'll talk about it a little more when going to the next segment because we're going to take a quick break. He is a former UNAA member. He went to school in Minnesota, and he went back to Uganda. He's done some wonderful project, the hospital project, which I'm going to talk to you about. And you may remember, I think he mentioned one of his partners was awarded by UNAA for something. You know, they started a hospital in Maganjo. It's called Ruth Gaylord Hospital in Maganjo. And I was telling him I was interested in talking to him because now that we are seeking donors, I wanted to get his feel of where do you think UNAA is getting challenged by and not being able to deliver like some projects back in Uganda like he has done. And part of what he said was that UNAA's issue is leadership continuity, meaning one person comes in and then when they're done, they leave and they no longer continue to support the organization in any way.
Sometimes I think he's right in most aspects. He is.
Yes.
And we should have that continuity and also some kind of formal handover documentation to the people that are incoming. Because if you don't do that, like I was never handed over anything formal. As in, this is a report of where the organization stands. This is where you are. We were given like, for example, yes, these are the people we owe, but there are of course some other people that found out later on. Even some of them still come after us. But we really kind of need that formal documentation that should be handed over to from an outgoing executive to an incoming executive. And that's why the Constitution actually gives that mandate to the president to still sit on the meetings, on the executive meetings for, I think it's 90 days.
Did that
to make sure that, no.
See, so there we have, so that lack of continuity, and we always don't have strategic goals. We have very short-term activities. Everybody comes in and then they go, and then the next person comes in. So we lack strategic direction. That was his analysis, and I think I wanted to bring it up while I'm talking to you too, and that's why I brought up that subject. So, but we're gonna go.
Honestly speaking, I am someone who has always made sure that at least whoever comes after me is given something. For example, when I was secretary in 2013, when I was leaving, because I had never been handed over anything when I took on office, I know what I went through. And I made sure I built systems, and I made sure I had a disk handed over to someone who came after me and told her, this is your heart and soul. This is what I've worked with. Build onto this to make it even better. And that really helped her as secretary coming in after me. So it's the same thing I would do when I'm leaving and say, hey, this is what I've done as president. This is what I can say I found, and this is how I've left the place. And I hope you build onto the best part of it. And if you feel some other things have not worked, hey, you can go and bring in something new. Okay. But at least there should be that handover process.
All right. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll be right back.
Oli mwagalwa wange gwe muganzi wange ate kati kiki ekikuleetedde okubulangana okwo kubukabuka n'okuwankawaka egobe mu mutima gwo embeera zo zitiisa zimalamu amaanyi.
All right. Welcome back from the break, Madam President, our viewers, our listeners. You're watching Agafa Mubengula. I'm Robert Salongo Chigundu, your host. And today I am thrilled once again that I have the UNAA President, Henrietta Wamala Senabulia, in my studios. Now, yes. When we went to the break, I think we were still talking about the challenges, the leadership challenges, and that sort of a narrative about UNAA, right? Now, let me talk to candidate Henrietta for a second. Yeah. What you've been on the trail while you're doing your work as the CEO, but you're also running a campaign. Yes. What are you hearing out there is on the minds of the UNAA members, the voters?
Yes, I've been on the campaign trail, but not so much. I've been doing more of the UNAA work because a lot of people that have decided that this is not the UNA convention is not part of them are the ones who are actually maximizing their time doing the campaigns. Okay. But I've continued doing my UNA work, and that is making sure that I'm delivering services to people, making sure that we are having a successful convention in Cincinnati. And for the few places that I have traveled with my team to campaign, actually, I have heard of so many good things. We have had so much good feedback for what we have been doing in UNA for the past 2 years. That is the honest opinion. Now, some of the challenges that we have had is the misinformation that has been put out there. For example, the person that's running against me claims that twamulemesa okukola omulimu gwe nti we hindered her from doing her job. But as you know, Mr. Salongo, UNA is more an organization that does not have physical offices. We all do our work remotely. We all do our work virtually. We all do our work in a space that no one controls the other's space. No one has ever stopped anyone to do their work in UNA. The people who claim they failed to do their work is because they either did not know what their job entailed or they just refused to do community work, and that is serve their people. Mr. Chigundu, you know me very well. I live in Illinois. Off my UNA, when I take off my UNA hat, out of my UNA office, I also work as a community leader. I'm a woman's lead in UCI, Uganda Community in Illinois organization.
That's right.
And you've seen me toil with the people when they need me.
That's right.
Anything that concerns my community, I've been there. I have never turned a back on any community member, regardless of whether you're white, black, brown, whatever religion you have, whatever political affiliation you are. As long as you are a community member, I'll be there for you. And that's what I do. And that's what I put first when I'm serving the people. I want people who are being given misinformation to look at our characters, to look at our works in the communities, and take a strong look at our manifestos and what we have done in the past. And I want them to ask these people, what have you done in your communities? For example, if you come and say, the president of UNA stopped me from doing my job as the person who should be serving the communities as VP in my office. Did we travel to your community in California and tell you not to serve your people in California? Because when we went to California, they are asking us, have you guys been keeping our persons so busy that they have not served us here in our region? And we are like, no, they live with you. They should be giving you the services you need. Were we the ones who told you not to sit and pass the UNA budget, the UNA national budget, or the budget for the convention? No, you refused to do your job. So when you look at these people, when they come in front of you and tell you, oh, we are going against the incumbent because she does this or that, the other allegation they are putting out there is UNA is controlled by an invisible hand from Uganda. There is no one that controls UNA from Uganda. If you say UNA is controlled by an invisible hand in Uganda and you're in the current leadership, Mami Chigundu, that means that you're also part of that hand that is controlling you. They are controlling you as leaders. Mm. So tell us how they are controlling you. For example, they looked at me going to Uganda and I offered help to healthcare workers. Mm. I was blamed for doing that because they failed to do it. In fact, some of them even claimed that was their idea, which was not. It took me a month to be negotiating with certain doctors to help me. They only came up with, we need to get face masks for people, like weeks before I even got all the supplies I had. Mm. But just because I did not sit down and start telling them, oh, by the way, I'm talking to Sans, so because if it hadn't materialized, then they would have said, oh, she told us she's going to do this, but she didn't deliver. But when I called a leadership meeting and told them, I have good news, this is what is going to happen, they were all amazed that I actually have that going. Now, had I sat back and not done it, they would have said, UNA doesn't help the Ugandans in Uganda when they are having COVID. But when I went and helped them, they forgot the good thing we did to help these healthcare workers. And all they were complaining about is, we saw the president in being escorted by a motorcade. How would you have expected me to move from district to district, deliver over 50 boxes worth of PPEs without having security? Someone could have stopped us and stole those and have those things stolen. What could we have said? We had to have clearance to move those things. And in fact, we are grateful that they were able to make sure that we were able to deliver these things. But you will have that spinning. That is what is done in UNA. Well, someone will spin a story, someone will have misinformation, someone will make sure they try to tarnish or say whatever they want against Henrietta because they are trying to get a vote. So UNA members, look at each and all of us and ask yourself, what have we done in our communities? And don't be lied to. Okay.
Now, that still goes to, and now I'm talking to candidate Henrietta, because I spoke to the other candidates and they said part of what they're offering is, they're proposing is to redefine the relationship between UNA and Uganda, right? So they're saying that currently the relationship is one-sided, that we're essentially taking orders from the Uganda government. Is that true, Madam President? Have you been taking orders from the Uganda government?
I really would like to know what orders we've been taking from the Ugandan government, because honestly speaking, we give orders to the Ugandan government. You know how we give orders? We ask them to give us services. And do they give you the services? Yes, they do, through the embassy. You actually literally order them to give you what you want. They are your servants. So for someone to say UNA is one-sided and UNA is taking orders from the government, that is hilarious. We are actually ordering the Ugandan government to, number one, give us services. If we need our passports renewed, we are the same people who go to these people and ask them, bring us those services. Right now, a lot of people are asking me, are we going to have our dual citizenship done? Are we going to have our passports renewals done? Are we having Ndagamotos done? Guess what I'm doing? I'm writing to those entities and telling them, these people in the diaspora need you. Make sure you turn up, because they are going to spend their money to come to Cincinnati and they need those services. Now, who's giving the order? We as UNA are actually asking them to come and give us the order, the services. That is one way of us ordering them. We pay taxes. We send money to Uganda. And through those remittances, they have to make sure that they are meeting our needs as Ugandans. So for someone to say, UNA is working on the orders of the Ugandan government, then that means you tell us how they are working on the orders of the Ugandan government, whoever is making that allegation. Because I, as president, I am not working under any orders of the Ugandan government. In fact, when I talk to them and ask them what I need, I'm glad that I can talk to Ambassador Mulkatende at any time of the day when we have problems. Mwami Chigundu, we've had deaths in our community. That is not new to us. Who are the people that I have reached out to help us to make sure that we get clearance for bodies to go? It is the same embassy. So when you say you want to redefine the relationship, can you please tell members what exactly you want to redefine? Do you want to cut off the relationship of diaspora and Uganda? Is that what you're looking for? Are you trying to say you don't want to belong to Uganda anymore? I'm trying to understand what their argument here is, because I don't want people to misinform other people. Now, you may have your own political affiliations and so on, but UNA is a non-profit. Take that political nonsense out of UNA. That is what I beg of everyone. I stand here as a UNA president, and I don't care who is in which political affiliation. When I come here to speak as UNA president, I speak as UNA president. And I don't speak on behalf of so and so with their political affiliations. We are here to give services as a non-profit. And this non-profit was created to give services to Ugandans in North America. Some of those services, unfortunately, have to work with the embassy in Washington. If you want your passport renewed, I've got to talk to Ambassador Mulkatende to make sure that we have those services. If you want your Ndagamuntu to be done, I still have to engage him. And us having that engagement helps us to get those services done. When you talk of you want to redefine that, I would like to know how you want that done. Okay. And what you're going to do to make it happen. Because a lot of people remember, they talk a lot, but there's no action in their words. And they've been talking for 2 years, and we are tired of talk. Please look at these people as they come to you, and let them not lie to you. Baba Limba.
All right, I will have to have them back to more detail about.
They have to tell us how they are going to redefine that.
Okay, all right. Now, staying there again. When that team was in my studio here, they did actually. Mr. Bakasara said to me that let me give you breaking news about the UNAA insurance program. Essentially, he's like, that doesn't exist. As far as I know, you know, your administration, we've been marketing an insurance program. So Mr. Bakasara tells me, breaking news, this doesn't exist. So I'm about to get confused here. Please help me understand what is your response to that?
Mr. Bakasara is lying to everyone. The UNAA Life Repatriation Program with partnership with the Umoja Group and the insurance, the life insurance program through Hartford Life Insurance exists. As we speak, people are covered. My own mom is covered on the life insurance, and I'm also part of the repatriation program. If you know very well, most of us who are on the repatriation program are on a WhatsApp chat that was created, and we see when people die, they actually send $15,000 checks, and they even take a screenshot of that check and give it to us to show us proof that money has been given to the families. So far since we joined, we have had, I think, 3 or 4 people who have died in that program, and $15,000 has been mailed to those families. And they've asked us to send in our replacement fees. That is a program that is working. When we joined it as UNAA members, it had like 1,500 people. Right now, it has over 2,000 people. Okay. So I don't know where he's getting that from, but the reality is it was a program approved by council members with a majority vote in a meeting he never attended. He refused to attend.
That's where I was going to go. That's where I was going to go. Is that sounds like he's saying it's illegal. Now, please elaborate on what you just alluded to there. Because
I'm going to elaborate on it this way. We have had a dysfunctional council for 2 years. A dysfunctional council by the leadership, and the leadership being the council speaker, Maureen Asimwe, the deputy speaker, Albert Bakasara, and the secretary, Mike Mukasa. And they are helped by the VP, unfortunately. We have had a dysfunctional leadership whereby they do not listen to their members of the council. They have been mistreating them. It is even on the leadership group, whereby they have called them names. Someone has been called a dog, someone has been called a pig, someone has been told to sit his lying little ass down by the speaker. We have had that kind of leadership in the council, which is so sorry. It is so sad. And that is the kind of leadership you're going to get if you put them in the executive of UNAA. So we had council members complain about them, and they told them we need to mend our differences in the council. You can't be talking to us like we are kids. You can't be taking us like we do not really count to what you do, because they were even putting things out there as council, signing off as council, whereas the council hadn't discussed things with them that they put out there. So people were complaining. Council member Justice Mirembe even said, I'm not going to attend any of these meetings if they are chaired by this council speaker, because I have a vote of no confidence in this person She mistreats people. She abuses us. We cannot continue with this leadership. That is what has been going on in your council. So these are the same people who are vying for executive positions. So what happened is the council members called for a special meeting. It is actually in the articles of the Constitution of UNAA. It gives them the mandate to do so. And all the council members, majority of them attended. The speaker, the deputy speaker, the secretary, and 2 other council members refused to attend. The majority attended. They sat, discussed their grievances. And by the way, I attended that meeting because they reached out to us as the ex-officials. The VP denied to attend. I decided to attend because I am not going to just say I'm not attending a meeting because the leaders have refused to attend it. I had to attend and listen to the grievances of these council members. They made minutes, they made a recording, they discussed their grievances, and they decided they needed to talk to the Board of Trustees to move those grievances to them. Unfortunately, the Board of Trustees never actually acted on what the council members were asking. But part of that meeting also passed a resolution to vote on the life insurance program and repatriation program. Majority, all of them voted yes to it, and we went ahead and had that insurance program enacted. We brought it back to executive. Executive said, yes, we are on board with it. Let us take it. So because these people never attended, they called it illegal. They started fighting it. That is what they've been doing for 2 years. Fight, fight, fight. When we took office, unfortunately, you have UNAA, whereby we all had different teams. My executive, majority of them were on my team, with the exception of the vice president. The council speaker, the council leadership was on a different team, on the Kauma team. And unfortunately, these guys, it's as if they just came to fight us right from the beginning. And they've been trying to undermine everything we do, to try and bring down everything that we've been doing that's good for the organization. For someone to say there is no program, I don't, in fact, he wrote to me at one time and said, I am going to make sure I decampaign this. I'm not going to allow it to be put on any of the WhatsApp chats where I am. I'm going to tell everyone not to sign up for it. And I'm like, wait a minute. Is death going to wait for you as you decampaign a program that helps the communities, Mr. Bakasara? So look at those community members that are actually being burdened by sending bodies in Uganda. Look at the people that we send crowdfunding emails to when we are begging them to give us money to send these bodies home. And stop being selfish and serve the communities first. Put the communities first before your little interests in UNAA. Because some people, I think, come into UNAA as to have resumes, to build up their resumes. UNAA should not be a resume builder for people who come to lead it. UNAA should be an organization as a non-profit as it is, to make sure that we are serving the communities and we are putting communities first. So that is the explanation I can give you about this whole life insurance program. But the insurance program is up and running. I want to, by the way, thank Miss Georgina Kironda, because she was a champion of this. She came and spoke to so many communities about it. She sold this program to all these communities, and they actually bought into it. They signed up, and this is something that is helping us. If anyone dies right now that has signed up, we will be covered, which is so good. It will take that weight off us. So yes, the insurance program is there, Mwami Chigund. Okay.
Now, thank you very much. And before we get away from that subject, real quick, it was hinted that, well, there was an idea that was stolen out of the council and handed off to one council member to run with it. Anything you have to say about that?
Which idea? Because everything that we do,
the insurance idea came out of council.
Oh, no. This is what happened. Okay. They would love to have that insurance idea to be tied to they did it. Miss Georgina Kironda said, I have lost so many people in Georgia. We have to have an insurance program. And that's why we told her, go research into it and let's put it together and make sure it passes. What they got mad about was that they were selling something called the emergency fund. And we asked them, please define what it is and how it's going to help us. Oh, it can help UNAA members. UNA leadership, for example, when they travel, maybe we can use that money towards travel. And we are like, okay, but we thought that is why we have budgets, whereby if we are traveling as leaders, we should have those expenses put in a budget. Okay, it can act as mabugo. And we are like, okay, how far does mabugo go for us as UNA members? If you have 100 UNA members lose someone, do we have enough money in that pocket to serve for mabugo? Because we are looking at least a life insurance program to cover the UNA members. Okay, this emergency fund will help people who are maybe hurting. So they had an idea that they were just bouncing here and there. And unfortunately, they wanted to tie it to the life insurance program. These are two different things. Okay. It's like comparing apples to oranges. You can't tie those two together. And Madame Georgina told them, no, the life insurance program is going to be a standalone program. Go have your emergency program as a different program. And that became a contentious issue.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for those responses. Also, out there, as I talk to candidates, the issue of Mr. Mugeni came up. And it has something to do with disciplinary activity, or the activities of this disciplinary committee. It sounds like due course is minimal or non-existent. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm hearing, that there's a rushed activity to target and penalize some certain individuals who voice out dissent in the organization.
Actually, about that? I would totally disagree. Mr. Mugeni has put things out in the media to undermine the organization for quite some time. Now, he used to write about me, and I kind of first ignored it until I saw blatant lies being told about me. And I remember at one time, I even commented and said, this is really sad. It comes from a deranged mind, because they were blatant lies. And I was like, this is someone I serve with in the UNA leadership. He's on the UNA council. Why would he be doing this? But maybe now I can see why they were doing this. They started this game of mudsliding UNA, mudsliding Henrietta, making sure they make Henrietta look so bad, because they knew they were running for office. What they didn't maybe realize was how they were dragging the organization into these blatant lies and actually putting us down as UNA. Mr. Mugeni even went to the extent of saying the organization should be deregistered, meaning it should be wiped off the face of the earth. But he is the same person who stands as council representative for a region. So people have been reading what Mr. Mugeni has been writing. He has written about almost, I think, every entity in UNA, meaning the BOT, the executive, and even council members. And the disciplinary committee got to a point where they were like, what is going on with this? This is going too far. And the council executive, the executive secretary in UNA, Mr. Lambert, said, no, we can't continue having this. It is one thing for you not to want the organization. Yes, we know you're standing for a certain position. You take a position in a political arena, because now you're trying to say UNA does not stand up for NUP and so on and so forth. But UNA is a non-profit. We cannot, by federal law, we cannot engage in politics. And I don't know whether some of these people come into these non-profits when they have read the laws of running a non-profit, or whether they just come in and are learning on the job, because looks like we've seen a lot of that, which is so sad. But you should know that if you are running a non-profit, you cannot engage in any political activities. You cannot be the same person who's actually out there shooting out, emails and calling people to go and attend political meetings. You are actually breaking the law, the federal law, as a UNA leader. So Mr. Mugeni, a petition was written, sent to the BOT. They called him to come to the meeting so that he can explain himself. You know what Mr. Mugeni did? He wrote to the BOT and refused to go to the meeting. When they send a petition onto anyone, regardless of what you've done, you're supposed to go and defend your position, right?
Okay.
He undermined the BOT, he undermined the disciplinary committee, he undermined UNAA as an entity, and told them he would not be attending it. So they listened to the other person, and they went and did their due diligence, and their findings were he cannot be leading the entity. And at the same time,
who is that other person? How does that work? Who is
that is the disciplinary committee came up with those findings, that he cannot be leading the entity and undermining the organization.
Okay.
So in one of the articles in UNAA, Mr. Mugeni was a member in bad standing. It is clear in the Constitution. You can be removed when you go against the organization. It is in the Constitution. It is not an individual who can do that to you.
In other words, so what is the standard there? You engage into activities that undermine the organization, and
when you undermine the organization, when you go and you're actually killing off the organization off the face of the earth with your actions. That's what he was doing.
We live in a nation that cherishes.
We have freedom of speech, and that is we have freedom of speech. But I don't know if you have read what Mr. Mugeni was writing.
I admittedly don't.
Oh my goodness! Then I would love you to go and read what he was writing.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. All right.
Because he even wanted the organization deregistered. For someone to even say go and deregister the organization, we're like, wait a minute. Now you want us to even deregister the organization for what? Right. Then why are you leading the organization?
All right, thank you.
And they went ahead and actually applied to deregister it. They sent a letter to the Secretary of State in Massachusetts. This wasn't just writing.
Oh, so that was pulled up to the action because
So you didn't know that part?
I didn't know. I'll be concerned about stifling.
Oh my goodness! And he got a response and even posted it to show off that he has written to the Secretary of State to deregister the entity. And this is the team unity you're working with that says they are trying to unify UNAA when they are actually trying to break it. Mr. Mugeni is running on the same ticket with the VP Natolo, Bakasara, and all these people, and they call themselves Team Unity. But they are working on deregistering UNAA.
Oh, that's an explosive.
So there you have it.
The
letter was sent to the Secretary of Massachusetts.
Oh, well.
And they are celebrating that it's out there.
Okay. Now, let's continue with the race. Also recently, former president put pen to paper and wrote several things. I don't know if you had a chance to read that document, but
I scanned through it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what you want to respond to. I have particular concern there was some content in there that alludes to a member of our community here in Chicago, and and that kind of piqued my interest. But I would like you to respond to that. What is Mr. Past President talking about?
The past president made a lot of allegations. Okay. And the most funny thing is this same past president, Kwesiga, is the same person who actually broke the organization, and you have UNAA causes today. So our first reaction was like, oh Lord, the person who is responsible for UNAA having 2 UNAAs today now is also writing. And this is very interesting that Team Unity has all the people who have actually either fought with the breaking up or causing problems in UNAA. So here's the reason that UNAA got into this scuffle with the BOT resigning and so on. Because of the way he undermined the BOT, he more or less really watered them down with what they were doing and tried to show them that they were nothing. But his allegations came when it comes to our community. He spoke of having a conversation with Mr. Antambi. And some of the allegations they made was, oh, she went and Henrietta went and actually has given money to the president in UCGIC Matanda, which is false. It is totally false. Mr. Matanda has come out to support us because Mr. Matanda has seen my works in Illinois as UNA president, but also as a community member. Mr. Matanda was actually on that team in 2019. And he will tell you that when he was with them, he thought what they were standing for was right. But after the elections, he never had a gain from them until these elections. And that is what unfortunately happens in communities. You never hear from these people again. Now, Ntambi goes ahead and alleges that Henrietta, that is the relationship between me and Matanda. Henrietta has done some kind of threatening of his family and so on. But Ntambi is like a brother to me, a young brother to me. And I actually told him last night that what he did is wrong. But I also reminded him that after these elections, we are all going to stay in this community and we have to come together. Unfortunately, the people who are using him would have left. And if he continues doing this, it will be so sad for him if the community is looking at him and asking what is going on with you. It is one thing to be on opposing sides. And by the way, it is okay to pick and have a side that you go and, support during elections. But stop defaming people's names. Stop trying to put misinformation out there because you feel that's the way you're going to beat this candidate. You will never see me come and try to put misinformation out there on these people. I've worked with these people that I'm running against, but I call them out on what they have done for the community. Because if I see that you haven't performed, I'll tell the community members you haven't performed. And what you have done well, by the way, I'll praise you for what you've done well. But if I haven't seen you perform in the community, I will also be able to say that out. So if you want to come and beat Henrietta, please come and beat me on merit. Try to bring my works out and say Henrietta has not performed in this arena and maybe this is what she could have done, but do not go out there trying to make stories about me, accusing me of doing things I haven't done, because it doesn't help you. And unfortunately, that is what our brother Ntambi has decided to do. And I hope that he can rethink that position. We wish him luck in his elections, but we also have a better candidate, and we know that our candidate will be winning, and that is Madam Joseph Magaga Matov. So I hope that he can rethink whatever he's saying out there, because we love him as a brother. And at the end of the day, we are going to live in Illinois with him at the end of all this. And I want us to stay united as we are. Right. And I also ask him to go and actually say sorry to Mr. Matanda, the UCGIC president. I want him to go and make sure he makes amends.
Okay. Now, besides the issue of our community member here, if Mr. Kwesiga is saying is after 30 years, we headed towards, we're still entertaining mediocrity. Do you have a response to?
I would love him to really measure the mediocrity that he's talking about, because UNA in 2 years has done way more than UNA has done in 10 years. Mr. Kwesiga was president for 2 years, and I can actually commend him for having brought sponsorships in his tenure.
Okay.
And he's the reason why UNA today receives $50,000.
Oh. Okay.
In Ugandan, in Ugandan sponsorship. It's Brian Kwesiga who brought that to UNA. Okay. But UNA's government sponsorship from Uganda predates to 2007. UNA started receiving money from Uganda in 2007, before even Henrietta came on the scene to serve in UNA as a leader. Henrietta, I found all these things here. And even when I leave, I'm sure these things are going to continue. So for those who are trying to tie me to Henrietta and the Ugandan man and so on, you're wasting your time, because Henrietta, I found this here. In 2007, the Ugandan government said they were going to give money to UNA, and they actually, I think, signed their first check in 2008 to Major Frank Musisi. He was the first president to receive this money. In 2013, Brian Kwesiga went and proposed to the government to increase it. and it was increased from $20,000 to $50,000. And he was the first president to receive that money. So I don't know why people would like to tie this money to Henrietta is accepting this money and so on, but other people have accepted this money. I only came into UNAA to be president in 2019. The money has been coming in since 2007. And all these people have been receiving this money. So what I would advise to members is this. If you feel you don't want this Ugandan money in UNAA, you know what to do. Show up at the AGM in Cincinnati on Saturday, September 4th, and table this as an item that needs to be talked about in the AGM. Let us take a vote on it as members, and let us decide whether you need this sponsorship or you don't. But stop just saying money should be stopped. This should be done this way. You have so many good ideas, but you're throwing them out in the wrong way. Coming on social media and shouting doesn't help you. And if you're not a UNAA member, that doesn't help you as well. That's right. Be a UNAA member, come to the AGM, have your resolution done, and let's get this thing sorted once and for all. That is what I would advise you to do. And while you take that money away from UNAA, let us also make sure that we as UNAA members can actually make up for that money. For example, instead of having $50 as our membership, let's increase it and make it $100 because there's a deficit. You take this away, there's a deficit somewhere. So we have to increase membership so that we can at least be able to cover that deficit. Right. Let's do it. For us, we are ready to do whatever you want us to do as leaders.
I know this is a contentious issue. None of the comes from Uganda.
It is a contentious issue.
We want it, we don't want it.
Yeah, I'm ready to do what you want us to do as leaders. Come to the AGM. Let's take care of it.
No doubt. It's going to take us members becoming very serious about the issue of membership, pay membership, and annually, continuously, without waiting for election years to come and pay one time and disappear. And other, consideration of other sources of funding, grant writing, and those kind of stuff. Yeah. So anyway, as we begin to wrap up here, let me take you back a little. I had wanted to ask you real quick. Where are my notes? I think Ugandan money. How much is it coming today? Who receives it? Because I think people still are not very clear on that from my conversations. How is it received? Is it sent to an individual? I want to get that into the record while I have you. Yeah.
Okay. When that Ugandan government sponsorship comes in, $100,000 is sent straight to the Ugandan embassy in Washington, D.C. The Ugandan embassy in Washington, D.C. notifies UNAA that money has arrived. $50,000 goes to the communities of Ugandans in the diaspora. And $50,000 goes to UNAA as an entity. Okay. That is something that has been either misconstrued out there and misinformation has been passed. UNAA only gets $50,000 and the communities get $50,000. Now, in order for the communities to get their money, it's the work of the vice president to make sure that communities get that money. Okay. I think you have seen the letters out there by the ambassador that the money went back to Uganda. That's because the vice president actually failed to get that money from the embassy. Every year.
I'm sorry, Madam President. The vice president, I think, said when she was here that she couldn't get lists of members because they wanted to tie these funds to actual active UNAA members in these communities, that they couldn't access that information from the record keeper, and that would be the executive secretary. Is that true?
Actually, we were in an executive meeting, and when we asked her about the CDF funds, because people used to call me I get phone calls from the community members. Madam President, we are still waiting for these funds. And when we're in the last meeting we were in, we asked her, can you please get these funds to the people? Because they are asking for this money. And she told us, oh, but I wanted to use a list of, is it a list of the 2020 people? And we told her, no, use the lists that we used in Chicago, because that money is actually for that year. And those lists were actually on the website. All of us as candidates in 2019 got those lists. She had that information. And even the other person that has membership information would be Mr. Tuase, because he gets that information. So Mr. Lambert Etibot told her, Lydia, you don't have to use the 2020 list. Use the 2019-2020, because that financial year is where that money is allocated. And she told us she was going to get that information and she was going to work on it. The next time we heard about it was that the money had gone back. And we are like, okay, we thought this was being worked on, because she assured us that she had been talking to the ambassador, and the ambassador had actually told her, in fact, she told me the ambassador has promised me that that money will not go back, because I kept telling her, Madam VP, that money, if it's not gotten out by a certain date, they will return it to Uganda, because that is the law. Any unused funds go back to Uganda. And those were unused funds. So they returned them. So to me, these are excuses, Mr. Chigundu. You cannot keep giving excuses for everything you failed to do. Do your job. That is all I can ask of her. In the past 2 years, I honestly would love to tell you that this is what she has done. But I thought that that is something that I would have said, okay, this is something she has fallen through and done. That is something I would have loved to say, but I cannot.
All right. Thank you very much for that response, Madam President. And as we will wrap up now, let me and my viewers hear from, again, candidate Henrietta. What should we look forward to? You're seeking re-election.
Yes.
If does that happens, take us through your promises real quick. What do you want to see happen going forward? What do you want to do?
First of all, I want to also talk about something. You have heard, I have been quiet. I have been quiet as an incumbent. I've been focusing on making sure that we are serving members. I've been focusing on making sure the convention is being taken care of. And the people whom you see are out there campaigning, these are people who have decided they stopped doing UNAA's work. So for them, it is about campaigns. For me as an incumbent, I promise people that I have a job to do, and that's what I'm going to do up to the last moment of me being your president. You have heard people make allegations that there is no transparency in UNAA, but if you go on the UNAA website, you'll find all the financial documents. You'll find all the stuff that we keep sending out to you and tell you we are working on as UNAA. You will find that we have been more accountable than any other administration that I know in UNAA's history, honestly speaking. You have had the same people who are running against us claiming that there's manipulation and we are being manipulated by someone else. These are all lies. The problem is they cannot show you what they have done in the communities. So how do they deflate? By making sure that they are lying on some of us who have a record. My record speaks for itself. I have brought you the services I promised to do. You now have your UNAA life insurance. I made sure I looked for immigration resources for you. Go to the website, you'll find them there. When you were struggling with COVID, I was there with your community leaders. We did make sure that you get some kind of relief. When you have lost your loved ones, we've been there for you. When you needed scholarships, I went and looked for the scholarships for you. Now, let me just summarize what I'm going to do for you next. I'm going to continue to advocate for you. I'm not going to lie to you. That is something I've done. That is something I'm going to continue to do. I'm going to try to increase that 60,000 scholarship fund to 100 or even more. because I know that when we all go to school, when we get education, we can't beat anything better than that in the US. I'm going to focus on the youth. We need to motivate these youth because Mwami Chigundu, the youth are the future of UNA. We need to make sure that we motivate them. We need to make sure that we empower them. We need to make sure that we have a mentorship program for the youth in UNA. We are going to continue making sure we at least reach out to our Canadian counterparts. You know, what I've seen about UNA is Canada kind of has been almost left out. In our administration, we tried so much to bring them together that even during COVID, we reached out to them. So we are going to continue to do that for them. We are going to expand our women empowerment program. We have a women empowerment program in UNA. We are going to expand it by working with partnerships with organizations that actually cater for women. We are going to partner with Job Target because we are going to now look at getting professional jobs for people. That is now my next target that I'm going to look at in my next administration. Fiscal discipline is going to continue, transparency, accountability, and integrity. I have a man that I've brought on board to help us since Mr. Nyenje said he's going. Mr. Elvis Insereko will help us to achieve that. We are going to grow our numbers in the UNA Life Insurance and Repatriation Program because we know that is how we'll know we've covered our members and we don't have to worry anymore about taking bodies home and sending crowdfunding emails to ask for money. We need to get covered. We are going to continue promoting businesses, Mr. Chigundu's Tuchikube. We are going to continue promoting you as our local UNA members, all businesses out there. We've been sending you resources. You have seen us partner with major people like the Department of Commerce, MBDA. We are going to look for all those resources as we've done. We are, of course, going to keep reaching out to all the members that have been walking away from UNA. Today, as I speak, most of those people have come back. Cincinnati, most of them are coming. The last person that I was happy to be told is coming to Cincinnati is, for example, former President Mr. Zanda Zavasajja. I'm looking forward to seeing them come back to UNA, and we are going to continue doing that. Last but not least, health is important to us, and we are going to continue promoting our health program. During the year, I sent out mammogram sites where people can get mammograms, especially ladies over 40 or those with a history of cancer in their families. We are going to continue sensitizing and promoting healthcare activities, any healthcare discounts that we get for insurances or for those who don't have insurances. We are going to work on that. We are going to make sure that we have you, cover your back, and we are going to serve you as leaders as we have done in the past 2 years. Mwami Chigundu, I can't thank you enough. I've been quiet for quite some time. And people thought I either don't want to go on a debate and so on and so forth. Believe you me, I'm ready to debate anyone any time of the day. But I'm also not going to be engaging in social media fights and debating people over the internet and leaving the organization suffer. I put UNA first. And to me, UNA is delivering services. That is what it means. It doesn't mean that we have to be on the internet fighting each other. We have to deliver the services. That's why we came into office. So I am so grateful that you gave me this time, this undivided attention to come here and tell my part and my side of the story. You have been promoting UNA from day one. And I think if there's any partner that UNA has really partnered with in media that has done their 100, it's Tuchikube. We've seen you in Yoka. We've seen you in Agafo Wengula. We've seen you do it all. And people are like, Bamusasula Meka.
Exactly.
Guys, this guy has not been paid a cent. He does it from the heart. People like that are the people who should be in leadership. They are putting the community first. They are making sure the community is getting what they need. And that is what I beg of UNA members as you're looking at that ballot and you're going to tick your choice of either a president, vice president, whoever you're choosing, your council representative. When you go to tick that person, please look at what they've done in your community. Ask yourself, when we needed them, were they there? When I was suffering with COVID, who was there to make sure I was okay? When I needed my person maybe to even be reached or whatsoever here in the US and I had a problem, was this council representative there? Ask yourself those tough questions before you choose these people. And this nonsense, this political nonsense you hear going on, please, UNAA is not run by anyone. UNAA is not run by NRM or anything, as they want you to believe. They are trying to take you and pull your leg to try and think that UNAA is run by the government and so on. It's wrong. We are the deciders. If they say that that is what is happening, then that means they are being run by those people, and they are actually lying to you. So I humbly ask you to take our records into account. But I think it is just, the decision should be clear to you. It is as light and day. Henrietta Nairuwa Wamala have delivered. And I'm asking you to take your chance again on me and give me this chance to deliver to you again. Please vote Joan Bavuga as your vice president. This woman has delivered as vice president in Michigan. When it comes to community service, she's a social worker. She believes in listening to people and taking care of problems. Vote Lambert Etibot. I've seen him in action. You also what we did in the online convention. By the way, the online convention was even fought by the same leaders that are trying to come in the executive. But we had a successful convention, and Lambert spent 24 hours almost seated behind a computer to make sure that those things happen. That is the dedication that UNAA needs. Vote Henry Elvis in Sereko. He's coming with a very speculative, it's specular. The resume he brings, he's the right man for office. And he's even been endorsed by his predecessor, who is Mr. Godfrey Nyenje. Vote for him. For Great Lakes region, don't look any other further. Miss Josephine Mugaga Matov has delivered from day one. She's there for the community. She does what it needs to make sure that people are taken care of. Hanifa Nachidiowa, Farida Kutesa, Nakalema Grace in England, Georgina Nakairu in Georgia. Vote our team. All I can say is we are bringing people who are team. They are there to give you the services you need. They are community experienced. Hanifa has been a president in her community in Pittsburgh. She's always there when you need people who are, for example, they had the other time someone who was going home, a father returned to Uganda. That woman made sure that the community was there to make sure that this gentleman was returned to Uganda in one piece, even if he was sick. You have people like what's her name, Huda. Huda has been there to champion for, you know, all these people who are abused when it comes to racism. Huda is there for you. Farida Kutesa in California, she serves her community with one heart. She's there when she's needed. Nakalema Grace is a secretary in her community in New York. When I chose these people, I chose them because of what they bring to the table. And that is community service first. So I am a leader who looks beyond friendship, color, whatsoever you're coming with, sex, gender. I first look at what you bring to the table. That's what I'm bringing on team action. And when you see team action, you know what that means. These are people of action. They are not people of words. You're going to hear a lot of people bringing you misinformation. Look no further. We are the only people who are going to deliver services to you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chigundu. I have no words. Okay. Thank you so much.
And I thank you very much, Madam President, for gracing my studio with your time and for taking me through all these topics. I know that it is an election season. This is all back and forth. And as you can imagine, a UNAA member is trying to make a decision. So there we have it.
And I want them to do the right decision.
There we have it. UNAA decides. 2021, 2023, Cincinnati.
Choice you. Your choice you.
I
mean,
yeah,
I mean,
Karango, actually, Karango.
oli mwagalwa wange gwe muganzi wange ate kati kiki ekikuleetedde okubulagala okwo kubukabuka n'okuwankawaka egobe mu mutima gwo, embeera zo zitiisa zimalamu amaanyi. Okwo kubukabuka n'okuwankawaka egobe mu mutima gwo, embeera zo zitiisa zimalamu amaanyi.